The stars shimmered like tiny diamonds scattered across the endless black canvas of space. The ship Eagle's Reach floated silently, its sleek silver frame reflecting the faint glow of a distant sun. Inside, Captain Lucas Hart stood on the bridge, his eyes scanning the monitors as his crew worked tirelessly. They were explorers, not soldiers, sent by Earth to map uncharted regions of the galaxy. It was supposed to be a peaceful mission. No one expected trouble. Among the crew was Alex Bennett, a curious 12-year-old boy who had tagged along with special permission. His parents were scientists aboard the ship, and Alex often helped with small tasks, eager to learn about the universe. He wasn't officially part of the team, but everyone liked having him around. His bright smile and endless questions kept spirits high during long journeys through the void. That day, however, things changed forever. As the Eagle's Reach drifted near an unmarked asteroid field, strange readings appeared on the scanners. A massive object loomed ahead, hidden behind layers of dust and debris. At first, it looked like a natural formation, but as they approached, the truth became clear. It was a ship, an enormous alien ship. Its surface gleamed with intricate patterns that pulsed faintly, as if alive. The crew exchanged nervous glances. This was something no human had ever seen before. Captain Hart ordered caution. "Stay back," he said firmly. "We don't know what we're dealing with." But curiosity got the better of Alex. While the adults debated their next move, he slipped away from the main deck and headed to one of the observation windows for a closer look. His heart raced as he stared at the colossal vessel. It felt ancient, powerful, and somehow watching them. Suddenly, there was a flash of light. Before anyone could react, beams shot out from the alien ship, enveloping the Eagle's Reach. Alarms blared, and the crew scrambled to respond, but it was too late. Invisible forces pulled Alex off his feet and yanked him toward the source of the light. He screamed, reaching out for anything to hold on to. But there was nothing. In seconds, he vanished. On board the Eagle's Reach, panic erupted. The captain shouted orders, trying to regain control of the situation, but the alien ship ignored all attempts at communication. Just as quickly as it had appeared, the mysterious vessel disappeared, leaving the humans stunned and helpless. Back on Earth, news of the incident spread fast. Alex's older sister, Mia, watched the reports unfold on her screen, her hands trembling. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her little brother, her brave, funny, annoying little brother, had been taken by aliens. No one knew why or where they had gone. All she could think about was how scared he must be, alone in some unknown place. Maya refused to sit idly by. She stormed into meetings with government officials, demanding answers and action. But they told her the same thing over and over. Humanity was powerless against such advanced technology. There was nothing they could do. Determined not to give up, Maya turned to unconventional solutions. She reached out to Dr. Ryan Scott, a scientist known for his work with genetically modified animals. Together, they began brainstorming ideas. If humans couldn't fight back directly, maybe their creations could. Meanwhile, aboard the alien ship, Alex found himself trapped in a cold, sterile room. Strange machines hummed around him, probing and testing. He didn't understand what they wanted, but he knew one thing for sure. They weren't friendly. Despite his fear, Alex clenched his fists and vowed to stay strong. He wouldn't let them break him. Little did anyone know, this was just the beginning of a story that would shake the galaxy to its core. The room where Alex was held felt like a prison made of ice. The walls were smooth and metallic, glowing faintly with a bluish light that never dimmed. There were no windows, no doors, just machines that hummed and clicked around him. Thin wires snaked across the floor, attaching themselves to his arms and legs without warning. They didn't hurt exactly, but they sent tingles through his body that made him uneasy. He tried pulling them off, but they wouldn't budge. Alex sat on the hard surface of what passed for a bed, clutching his knees to his chest. His heart pounded in his ears as he looked around. "Where am I?" he whispered to himself. No one answered. The silence pressed down on him, heavier than anything he'd ever felt before. Then the tests began. At first, it was small things. Lights flashed in front of his eyes so brightly that he had to squint. Sounds blasted in his ears, loud, sharp noises that made him jump. He clenched his teeth and told himself not to cry. Crying wouldn't help. But deep inside, fear gnawed at him. What did these aliens want? Why had they taken him? As hours turned into days, or what felt like days, Alex couldn't tell time anymore. The experiments grew worse. One machine poked and prodded his skin, leaving tiny red marks that stung. Another forced him to solve puzzles on a glowing screen while strange symbols floated above it. If he got something wrong, the machine would buzz angrily, and a sharp pain would shoot through his head. It wasn't unbearable, but it was enough to make him flinch every time. Despite everything, Alex refused to give up. He remembered something his dad once said. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is keep going. So that's what Alex did. Even when the machines beeped louder or the lights burned brighter, he gritted his teeth and pushed forward. He wouldn't let them win. Unbeknownst to Alex, some of the aliens watching him were starting to notice. Not all of them agreed with what the Galactic Council was doing. Among them was a scientist named Varric, who had been assigned to study human biology. At first, Varric saw Alex as just another test subject, a way to gather data about Earth's weakest species. But as he observed the boy's determination, something shifted inside him. He endures more than expected. Varric murmured to another scientist during a break. Perhaps humans are not as fragile as we assumed. The other scientist shrugged. It does not matter. Their potential is irrelevant unless they prove useful. But Varric wasn't so sure. He found himself lingering near the monitors longer than necessary, studying Alex's reactions. The boy's resilience intrigued him. Humans weren't supposed to be this stubborn, this alive. Yet here was proof that maybe the Council's methods were flawed. Back on Earth, Maya spent every waking moment searching for answers. She pored over reports, studied alien technology stolen by smugglers, and even reached out to conspiracy theorists online. Anything to find a clue about where Alex might be. Her frustration mounted with each dead end, but she refused to give up. Dr. Ryan Scott became her closest ally. Together, they worked late into the night, brainstorming ways to fight back. Dr. Scott had spent years developing genetically enhanced animals for various purposes: companionship, labor, even search and rescue missions. Now he wondered if those same creatures could be used for something bigger. "What about your pets?" Maya asked one evening, staring at a holographic image of a massive wolf-like creature. Its fur shimmered with streaks of silver, and its eyes glowed faintly green. "They're not just pets," Dr. Scott corrected gently. "They're highly intelligent, loyal, and capable of far more than most people realize." Mia leaned closer, her voice firm. "Can they help us save Alex?" Dr. Scott hesitated. Using the animals for combat went against everything he believed in. But looking at Maya's determined face, he knew there was no other choice. "If anyone can train them for this mission, it's you," he said finally. "But it won't be easy." Mia nodded. Easy didn't matter. All that mattered was bringing Alex home. Meanwhile, aboard the alien ship, Alex continued to endure. Though he didn't know it yet, his courage was sparking something greater, not just among the aliens, but also back on Earth. Little by little, the pieces were falling into place for a rebellion no one could have predicted. Mia stood in a dimly lit warehouse on the outskirts of the city, staring at the creatures before her. They were unlike anything she had ever seen. Genetically enhanced animals created by Dr. Ryan Scott for tasks far beyond what normal animals could do. But now, they weren't just tools or companions. They were hope. The largest of the group was Titan, a wolf-like creature taller than a grown man. His fur shimmered with streaks of silver, and his glowing green eyes seemed to pierce right through her. Beside him stood Echo, a bird with sleek feathers that shifted colors like oil on water. Her wingspan was enormous, and when she stretched them, the air around her vibrated faintly. Finally, there was Shadow, a sleek feline with black fur that seemed to drink in the light. She moved silently, her golden eyes sharp and watchful. "These are your team," Dr. Scott said, breaking the silence. He gestured toward the animals. "They're strong, smart, and loyal, but they'll need someone to lead them." Mia nodded, though doubt gnawed at her. Could she really pull this off? She wasn't a soldier or a scientist. She was just a sister trying to save her brother. Still, she didn't have time to second-guess herself. Alex was out there somewhere, alone and scared. If these creatures could help bring him home, she would do whatever it took. Dr. Scott stepped closer to Titan and placed a hand on the massive creature's shoulder. Titan is built for strength and endurance. He can break through almost anything. Then he pointed to Echo. Echo uses sound waves to confuse enemies and disable technology. And Shadow, he smiled faintly. She's stealth incarnate. Nothing escapes her notice. Mia approached Titan first, holding out her hand cautiously. The giant wolf lowered his head, sniffing her palm before nudging it gently. A wave of relief washed over her. Maybe this wouldn't be so hard after all. Over the next few days, Mia worked tirelessly to bond with the animals. She learned their personalities and quirks. Titan was protective and patient, always staying close as if guarding her. Echo was curious and playful, often fluttering around Mia's head like an oversized hummingbird. Shadow, on the other hand, was more reserved, watching everything with quiet intensity. But even she began to warm up, curling up near Mia during breaks. Training wasn't easy. Mia had to teach the animals how to work together, combining their unique abilities into a cohesive unit. Titan practiced smashing through reinforced barriers, while Echo honed her ability to emit sonic blasts that could short-circuit electronics. Shadow perfected her skills at sneaking past obstacles undetected. Each session left Mia exhausted but determined. As the days passed, Mia noticed something remarkable. The animals weren't just following commands, they were learning to trust her. When she spoke, they listened. When she needed help, they responded instantly. It was as if they understood the weight of what they were preparing for. One evening, after a particularly grueling training session, Mia sat cross-legged on the floor, leaning against Titan's side. Echo perched on her knee, preening her feathers, while Shadow lounged nearby, her tail flicking lazily. For the first time in weeks, Maya felt a glimmer of hope. "We're going to get him back," she murmured, more to herself than to the animals. "We're going to find Alex." Titan let out a low rumble, almost like a purr, while Echo chirped softly. Even Shadow gave a small nod, as if agreeing. In that moment, Mia knew she wasn't alone anymore. She had a team, a strange, mismatched family that would stop at nothing to bring Alex home. Far away aboard the alien ship, Alex lay awake in his cold cell, staring at the glowing ceiling. He didn't know it yet, but someone was coming for him. Someone, and something, was ready to fight. The plan was ready. Maya stood in front of a large map projected onto the wall of the warehouse, her eyes scanning the details one last time. Dr. Scott had pieced together information about the alien ship's location using stolen data and fragmented signals intercepted by Earth's satellites. It wasn't much to go on, but it was enough. The Galactic Council's orbital station floated near the edge of a distant star system, hidden away from prying eyes. That's where Alex was being held. Maya turned to face Titan, Echo, and Shadow, who waited patiently nearby. Their glowing eyes seemed to reflect her determination. "This is it," she said softly, more to herself than to them. "We're going to get him back." Dr. Scott handed her a small device, a communicator modified to work with the animal's neural implants. "You'll need this to stay connected with them during the mission," he explained. "It'll let you give commands even if you're separated." Mia clipped the device to her belt and took a deep breath. She knew this wasn't just about saving Alex anymore. It was about proving that humanity wasn't weak or helpless. If they could pull this off, it would send a message to the Galactic Council and the rest of the galaxy that Earth wouldn't be pushed around. The next step was finding a way to reach the alien station undetected. Earth's military ships were too slow and loud, and borrowing one would attract too much attention. Instead, Dr. Scott suggested retrofitting an old spacecraft he'd acquired years ago for research purposes. The ship, called the Starling, was small and outdated, but its size made it perfect for slipping past enemy defenses unnoticed. For days, Mia and Dr. Scott worked side by side to prepare the Starling. They reinforced its hull, upgraded its engines, and installed stealth technology scavenged from black market dealers. Titan, Echo, and Shadow watched from the sidelines, occasionally helping by carrying tools or standing guard when strangers wandered too close to the warehouse. Finally, the day came to leave. Maya stood at the base of the ramp leading into the Starling, her heart pounding. This was it, the moment she had been working toward for weeks. She glanced back at Dr. Scott, who gave her a reassuring nod. "You've got this," he said firmly. "Bring him home." As the engines roared to life, Maya settled into the pilot's seat, flanked by Titan, Echo, and Shadow. The animals were strapped into specially designed harnesses to keep them secure during flight. Titan let out a low growl, his glowing eyes fixed on the viewport as the ship lifted off the ground. Echo chirped excitedly, while Shadow remained calm, her gaze steady. The journey through space was tense but quiet. Mia kept the ship cloaked, relying on Dr. Scott's modifications to avoid detection. Hours passed slowly, the vast emptiness of space stretching endlessly outside the windows. Every now and then, Mia checked the coordinates, ensuring they were still on course. Her mind raced with thoughts of Alex, what he might be feeling, whether he was hurt, if he still believed someone would come for him. When they finally reached the Galactic Council station, the sight took Maya's breath away. The massive structure loomed ahead, its surface covered in intricate patterns that pulsed faintly with light. It looked like something alive, watching and waiting. Mia clenched the controls tightly, forcing herself to focus. "Okay, team," she whispered, turning to look at the animals. "This is where we earn our stripes." Titan let out a soft rumble, while Echo spread her shimmering wings slightly. Shadow's ears twitched, her golden eyes narrowing as she studied the station. They were ready. Mia guided the Starling closer, careful to stay within the shadows cast by the station's bulk. The plan was simple: dock quietly, infiltrate the facility, find Alex, and get out before anyone realized what was happening. Simple didn't mean easy, though. One wrong move, and everything could fall apart. As the ship latched onto the station's outer hull, Mia unstrapped herself and grabbed a backpack filled with supplies. She knelt beside Titan, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Stay sharp," she murmured. "We've got work to do." With a final glance at her unlikely team, Mia opened the hatch and stepped into the unknown. Behind her, Titan, Echo, and Shadow followed silently, their loyalty unwavering. Together, they moved forward, determined to bring Alex home, no matter the cost. The air inside the Galactic Council station was cold and stale, carrying a faint metallic tang that made Mia wrinkle her nose. The corridor stretched ahead, dimly lit by pulsing blue lights embedded in the walls. Every step echoed loudly, and Maya froze for a moment, worried the sound would give them away. But Titan, Echo, and Shadow moved with practiced silence, their instincts honed from days of training. They were ready. Mia glanced at the small device clipped to her belt, the communicator Dr. Scott had given her. It allowed her to send commands to the animals instantly, but she hoped she wouldn't need it. She wanted to trust their judgment, to let them act on their own if things got chaotic. And judging by the size of this place, chaos seemed inevitable. "Okay," Mia whispered, crouching low as she peered around a corner. "We need to find Alex. Let's split up, but stay close." Titan immediately took point, his massive frame moving cautiously yet confidently. His glowing green eyes scanned the area, alert for any signs of danger. Shadow darted ahead, slipping into the shadows like smoke. Her sleek black fur blended perfectly with the darkness, making her nearly invisible. Echo hovered above, her colorful feathers shimmering faintly as she glided silently through the air. They moved quickly but carefully, sticking to the edges of the corridors. The station felt eerily quiet, almost too quiet. There were no guards in sight, no hum of activity or chatter of voices. It was as if the entire place were holding its breath, waiting for something, or someone, to make the first move. After several minutes of searching, Shadow returned, her golden eyes gleaming with urgency. She nudged Mia's leg gently before darting back the way she came, clearly signaling for Mia to follow. Maya nodded and motioned for Titan and Echo to come along. They followed Shadow down a narrow hallway until they reached a large, reinforced door. Unlike the others they'd passed, this one was covered in strange symbols that pulsed faintly with light. "This has to be it," Mia murmured, her heart racing. She pressed her ear against the cool metal, listening for any sounds from the other side. At first, there was nothing. Then, faintly, she heard it. A soft whimper. Her stomach clenched. It sounded like Alex. Titan stepped forward, his muscles tensing as he prepared to break through the door. Before he could act, however, Echo swooped down and landed on Mia's shoulder, chirping softly. She flapped her wings once, creating a ripple of vibrations that traveled through the air. To Mia's amazement, the symbols on the door flickered and dimmed, as though confused by the sudden disruption. "Good job, Echo," Mia whispered, smiling despite the tension. The bird tilted her head proudly before taking off again, circling above them. With the door's defenses weakened, Titan charged forward, slamming his massive body against it. The impact reverberated through the corridor, and the door groaned in protest before finally giving way. Sparks flew as the metal bent inward, revealing a sterile white room beyond. Inside, Alex sat huddled on a small cot, his arms wrapped tightly around himself. His face was pale, and dark circles ringed his eyes, but when he looked up and saw Mia, his expression transformed. Relief flooded his features, and he scrambled to his feet. "Mia," he cried, rushing toward her. She caught him in a tight hug, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're okay," she choked out, holding him close. "I've got you now." Behind them, Titan growled softly, his posture tense. Shadow prowled near the doorway, her ears twitching as she kept watch. Echo perched on a nearby console, her sharp gaze scanning the room for threats. They weren't safe yet, not by a long shot, but for the first time since Alex had been taken, hope burned brightly in all of their hearts. As Mia helped Alex gather his strength, she knew the hardest part was still ahead. Getting out wouldn't be easy, especially with alarms likely to blare the moment anyone realized what had happened. But as she looked at her brother and then at the loyal animals surrounding them, she felt a surge of determination. Together, they could face anything. "Let's go home," Maya said firmly, gripping Alex's hand. With Titan leading the way and Shadow and Echo watching their backs, they stepped out of the room and into the unknown, ready to fight their way to freedom. The group moved quickly through the twisting corridors of the Galactic Council's station, their footsteps muffled but urgent. Alex clung to Maya's hand, his small frame trembling slightly as he tried to keep up. He was weak from days of captivity and testing, but adrenaline pushed him forward. Titan led the way, his massive body clearing a path while Echo hovered above, her keen eyes scanning for danger. Shadow darted ahead, disappearing into the shadows only to reappear moments later, signaling that the coast was clear. But it wasn't long before trouble found them. As they rounded a corner, a squad of alien guards appeared at the far end of the corridor. Their armor gleamed under the pulsing lights, and their weapons hummed with energy. For a split second, everyone froze. Mia, Alex, the animals, and the guards, all locked in a tense standoff. Then chaos erupted. The guards raised their weapons, firing beams of searing light toward the group. Titan roared and charged without hesitation, his sheer size and speed catching the aliens off guard. He barreled into two of them, knocking them aside like ragdolls. The rest scattered, scrambling to regroup, but they were no match for the fury of the genetically enhanced wolf. Echo took to the air, her shimmering feathers glowing brighter as she unleashed a piercing sonic blast. A high-pitched sound wave rippled through the corridor, disorienting the guards and causing their weapons to spark and sputter. One alien dropped to his knees, clutching his helmet as if trying to block out the noise. Another stumbled backward, his weapon firing wildly before shorting out completely. Shadow moved like liquid darkness, slipping between the confusion caused by Titan and Echo. She pounced on one guard, her claws finding a weak spot in his armor. With a sharp yowl, she disabled him before melting back into the shadows to target another. Her movements were so fast and precise that the guards barely had time to react. Mia pulled Alex behind a fallen piece of equipment, shielding him from stray blasts. Her heart pounded as she watched the battle unfold. "Stay down," she shouted over the noise, gripping his shoulder tightly. Alex nodded, his wide eyes fixed on the scene in front of them. Despite everything, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of awe at how seamlessly the animals worked together. The fight didn't last long. Within minutes, the guards were either unconscious or retreating, their confidence shattered by the unexpected ferocity of the attack. Titan stood in the center of the hallway, panting heavily but unharmed. His fur bristled with static electricity from the energy blasts, but otherwise, he seemed unfazed. Echo perched on a nearby console, preening her feathers calmly as though nothing had happened. Shadow returned to Mia's side, her golden eyes glinting with satisfaction. "Good job," Maya said breathlessly, looking at each of the animals in turn. "You were amazing." Titan let out a low rumble, nudging her arm gently. Echo chirped softly, flapping her wings once before settling again. Shadow rubbed against Mia's leg, her sleek body warm and reassuring. But there was no time to celebrate. Alarms began blaring throughout the station, red lights flashing as the entire structure went on high alert. The sound was deafening, echoing through the corridors and making it hard to think. "They know we're here," Mia muttered, grabbing Alex's hand. "We need to move, now." Titan took the lead again, breaking into a run as the group hurried toward the docking bay where the Starling waited. Behind them, reinforcements poured into the corridors, their shouts growing louder as they closed in. Shadow darted ahead, scouting for shortcuts and alternate routes to throw off pursuit. Echo flew overhead, occasionally emitting short bursts of sound to confuse the enemy sensors. At one point, Titan took a hit meant for Mia. A bolt of energy struck his side, sending sparks flying. He stumbled but refused to stop, his determination unwavering. Blood trickled from the wound, staining his silver-streaked fur, but he pressed on, protecting the group with every ounce of strength he had. Finally, they'd reached the docking bay. The Starling sat waiting, its engines humming softly as if eager to leave. Mia ushered Alex aboard first, then turned to check on the animals. Titan limped inside, his breathing labored but steady. Echo fluttered in gracefully, while Shadow leaped aboard with her usual elegance. As the hatch sealed shut behind them, Mia collapsed into the pilot's seat, her hands shaking as she powered up the ship. Outside, the alien forces converged on the docking bay, pounding on the hull and firing wildly. But it was too late. With a roar of the engines, the Starling launched into space, leaving the Galactic Council station and its horrors far behind. For now, they were safe. But Mia knew the fight wasn't over. Not yet. The escape from the Galactic Council station was only the beginning of their ordeal. As the Starling hurtled through space, alarms still blaring faintly in the distance behind them, Mia focused on keeping the ship steady. Her hands gripped the controls tightly, her knuckles white, as she pushed the engines to their limit. The aliens weren't going to let them go without a fight. On the monitor, dozens of small ships appeared, closing in fast. Hunter drones, sleek and deadly, swarmed toward the starling like angry insects. Their weapons glowed ominously as they prepared to fire. Mia cursed under her breath, knowing there was no way to outrun them all. "We've got company," she said aloud, glancing back at Alex, who sat huddled in a corner with Titan by his side. The giant wolf rested his head protectively near Alex's lap, his glowing green eyes fixed on the viewport. Despite his injury, Titan looked ready to leap into action again if needed. Maya turned her attention to Echo and Shadow. "We need your help one more time," she said firmly. "Can you buy us some time?" Echo chirped in response, spreading her shimmering wings wide. Shadow crouched low, her golden eyes narrowing as she prepared to move. Without hesitation, both animals sprang into action. Echo soared out of the open hatch at the rear of the ship, her feathers catching the light of nearby stars. She darted between the hunter drones, weaving gracefully through their formations. With a powerful flap of her wings, she unleashed another sonic blast, sending shockwaves rippling through the air. Several drones faltered, their systems disrupted by the sudden burst of sound. One exploded mid-flight, its fiery remains scattering across the void. Shadow followed close behind, using her speed and agility to target the weakened drones. She leaped effortlessly from one drone to another, her claws tearing through delicate circuitry. Her movements were precise and calculated, each strike disabling another enemy vessel. Together, Echo and Shadow created chaos among the swarm, buying precious seconds for the starling to gain distance. Inside the ship, Mia worked furiously to plot a course away from danger. The controls vibrated beneath her fingers as the engines strained against the increasing gravitational pull of a nearby asteroid field. It was risky. Navigating such dense debris could easily destroy the ship, but it was their best chance to lose the remaining drones. "Hold on," Mia shouted, gripping the controls tighter. She angled the ship sharply, diving straight into the heart of the asteroid field. Rocks tumbled around them, some no bigger than a fist, others massive enough to crush the tiny spacecraft instantly. The view outside the viewport became a blur of jagged edges and flashing lights as Mia expertly maneuvered through the chaos. Titan growled softly, shifting his weight to keep Alex stable as the ship rocked violently. Alex clung to the wolf's thick fur, his face pale but resolute. He trusted Mia, and so did Titan. Behind them, the hunter drones struggled to follow. Several collided with asteroids, exploding in brilliant flashes of light. Others gave up entirely, retreating back toward the safety of the Galactic Council's station. But a few stubborn drones remained, relentless in their pursuit. Just when it seemed like they might not make it, Echo returned to the ship, her feathers slightly singed but otherwise unharmed. She landed gracefully on Mia's shoulder, chirping urgently. Shadow slipped back inside moments later, her sleek body glistening with sweat from the effort. Both animals looked exhausted but triumphant. Mia didn't waste a second. Using the confusion caused by the asteroid field, she activated the ship's cloaking device, rendering the starling invisible to sensors. The remaining drones circled aimlessly for a moment before giving up, disappearing into the depths of space. For the first time since leaving the station, Mia allowed herself to breathe. She slumped back in the pilot's seat, her shoulders sagging with relief. Outside the viewport, the swirling rocks began to thin, revealing the vast emptiness of space once again. "We made it," she whispered, her voice trembling. Turning to look at Alex, she forced a smile. "You're safe now." Alex nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice barely audible over the hum of the engines. Titan nudged him gently, as if reminding him that he wasn't alone. Back on Earth, news of the Galactic Council's actions spread like wildfire. Footage of Alex's abduction and the cruel experiments leaked to the public thanks to Dr. Ryan Scott, who had secretly recorded every detail of Mia's mission planning. The videos were horrifying. Images of Alex strapped to cold metal tables, surrounded by machines that beeped and buzzed as they probed his frail body. It was enough to make anyone sick with anger. The response was immediate. Protests erupted in cities across the globe. People gathered in streets, holding signs that read "Free Humanity" and "No More Silence." Social media exploded with hashtags demanding justice for Alex and all those who had suffered under the Council's cruelty. For the first time, humanity stood united, not just against the aliens but also against the fear that had kept them quiet for so long. But the outrage didn't stop there. Other species in the galaxy began to take notice. Whispers of dissent spread among alien factions, many of whom had grown tired of the Galactic Council's arrogance. Some even admitted privately that they admired humanity's boldness. How could such a supposedly weak species fight back so fiercely? The question lingered in the minds of many. Meanwhile, Alex recovered slowly under Dr. Scott's care. His physical wounds healed faster than expected, but the emotional scars ran deeper. Nightmares plagued him, waking him in cold sweats as he relived moments of his captivity. Yet despite everything, he refused to let the experience break him. Every day, he grew stronger, inspired by the bravery of his sister and the animals who had risked their lives to save him. Maya spent most of her time strategizing with Dr. Scott about what to do next. They knew the Galactic Council wouldn't let this go unpunished. Retaliation was inevitable, but instead of preparing for war, Mia proposed something different. Exposure. She wanted to broadcast the Council's atrocities to every corner of the galaxy, forcing them to face the consequences of their actions. "It's not just about us anymore," Mia explained one evening, pacing back and forth in Dr. Scott's lab. "This is about showing everyone what they're really like. If we can turn the rest of the galaxy against them, maybe we won't have to fight at all." Dr. Scott nodded thoughtfully. "It's risky," he said, "but it might work. We'll need to hack into their communication networks and send the message directly to every system." Titan, Echo, and Shadow listened quietly from the corner of the room. Though they couldn't understand human words, they seemed to sense the gravity of the situation. Titan rested his massive head on his paws, his glowing eyes watching Mia intently. Echo perched nearby, preening her feathers absent-mindedly, while Shadow curled up beside Titan, her golden gaze sharp and alert. Over the next few days, Mia and Dr. Scott worked tirelessly to prepare the broadcast. Using stolen technology and fragments of data collected during the rescue mission, they pieced together an enigmable message. The footage showed not only Alex's suffering, but also the Council's hypocrisy, claiming to study weaker species while subjecting them to unimaginable pain. They added subtitles in multiple alien languages, ensuring no one could claim ignorance. Finally, the day came to send the transmission. Maya stood in front of a large screen, her fingers hovering over the controls. Her heart raced as she glanced at Alex, who sat nearby with Titan by his side. He gave her a small nod, his expression filled with quiet determination. "Are you ready?" Dr. Scott asked softly. Maya took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." With a single press of a button, the message went live. Across the galaxy, screens flickered to life, displaying the horrifying truth about the Galactic Council. Ships, stations, and planets tuned in, unable to look away. The reaction was instantaneous. Outrage rippled through alien societies, sparking debates and protests that mirrored those happening on Earth. Even some members of the Council itself began to question their leaders' methods. For the Galactic Council, it was a devastating blow. Their carefully crafted image of superiority crumbled under the weight of undeniable evidence. Allies turned against them, cutting ties and condemning their actions. Within weeks, the Council's power began to falter. On Earth, hope blossomed. Humanity had proven it could stand up to even the strongest forces in the galaxy, not through violence, but through truth and unity. As Mia watched the news reports flood in, she felt a sense of pride she hadn't known before. They weren't just survivors, they were fighters, and they had changed the course of history. Alex smiled faintly, leaning against Titan. "We did it," he whispered. Mia nodded, her voice steady. "Yeah, we did. The Galactic Council was crumbling, but it wasn't going down without a fight. The exposure of their crimes had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, leaving them isolated and vulnerable. Yet, instead of stepping back to reassess, they doubled down on their oppressive tactics. In secret meetings aboard their orbital stations, Council members plotted desperate measures to regain control. They couldn't let humanity, or any other species, think they were weak. On Earth, Mia kept a close eye on the situation. She knew the Council wouldn't take this lying down. Despite the widespread outrage, the aliens still held immense technological power. If they decided to retaliate, humanity would need to be ready. But Mia also understood that the real battle wasn't fought with weapons. It was fought with ideas. The Council's greatest weapon had always been fear, and now that fear was fading. Alex spent his days recovering, slowly regaining his strength both physically and emotionally. He attended therapy sessions arranged by Dr. Scott, who believed it was important for Alex to process everything he'd endured. At first, Alex resisted, feeling frustrated that life couldn't just go back to normal. But over time, he began opening up, sharing his thoughts and feelings with Mia and Dr. Scott. Talking about what had happened didn't erase the pain, but it helped him feel less alone. Meanwhile, Titan, Echo, and Shadow remained constant companions. Their bond with Alex and Mia had only grown stronger after the rescue mission. Titan stayed close to Alex, often lying near him during the day. His presence was calming, a reminder that someone, or something, was always watching over him. Echo perched on windowsills or bookshelves, chirping softly whenever Alex seemed upset. Shadow prowled around protectively, her golden eyes scanning for any sign of danger. One evening, as Mia sat with Alex in their living room, the news played quietly in the background. Reporters spoke of protests spreading across alien worlds, calling for the dissolution of the Galactic Council. Some factions even suggested forming a new coalition, one that included representatives from Earth. It was an idea Mia hadn't dared to dream of before, yet here it was, becoming a real possibility. What happens next? Alex asked suddenly, breaking the silence. His voice was soft, almost hesitant. Maya looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "I don't know exactly," she admitted. "But I think we've already started something big. People are standing up, not just for us, but for everyone who's ever been treated unfairly." Alex nodded slowly, his gaze drifting to the window where stars twinkled faintly in the night sky. "Do you think they'll try to hurt us again?" "They might," Maya said honestly. "But if they do, we'll face them together. We showed them we're not afraid." Dr. Scott joined them later that night, bringing updates from his contacts scattered across the galaxy. Many alien species were pushing for reforms, demanding transparency and accountability from those in power. Others were reaching out to Earth directly, offering support and resources. Humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, was now being seen as a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for anyone tired of oppression. As weeks passed, the Council's grip weakened further. Internal divisions grew, with some members defecting entirely. Varric, the scientist who had observed Alex during the experiments, became one such defector. He reached out to Dr. Scott, offering information about the Council's operations in exchange for asylum on Earth. Though wary, Dr. Scott agreed, seeing an opportunity to gather valuable intelligence. With Varric's help, humanity uncovered plans for a final, desperate strike, a massive attack intended to crush Earth and its allies before the Council lost all influence. Armed with this knowledge, Mia and Dr. Scott worked with global leaders to prepare defenses. Titan, Echo, and Shadow trained alongside human forces, showing them how to use teamwork and strategy to overcome superior numbers. When the Council's fleet finally arrived, humanity was ready. The battle was fierce, but thanks to careful planning and the loyalty of their genetically enhanced allies, Earth managed to hold its ground. By the end, the Council's forces retreated, broken and defeated. In the aftermath, the galaxy began to heal. A new coalition emerged, one built on fairness and cooperation rather than dominance. Humanity earned its place among the stars, not because of violence, but because of courage and resilience. As Mia stood under the night sky with Alex by her side, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. They had faced unimaginable odds and come out stronger. Together, they had proven that even the smallest act of defiance could spark change. And somewhere above them, Titan let out a low rumble, as if agreeing. The galaxy was changing, and humanity stood at the heart of it. The Galactic Council, once a symbol of unshakable power, dissolved completely under the weight of its own corruption. Its members scattered, some seeking refuge on distant planets, while others faced justice for their crimes. What remained was a void, a space where something new could grow. That something new came in the form of the Interstellar Coalition, a group made up of representatives from dozens of species across the galaxy. For the first time, decisions would be made not by force or fear, but through discussion and mutual respect. Earth earned a seat at the table, with Mia Bennett playing a key role as an ambassador. Her courage during the fight against the Council had inspired many, earning her the trust of both humans and aliens alike. Alex, too, found his place in this new world. Though he still carried scars from his ordeal, he channeled his experiences into something meaningful. Inspired by his parents' work as scientists, he decided to study diplomacy, determined to ensure no one else would suffer as he had. "We can't change what happened," he told Mia one evening, "but we can make sure it doesn't happen again." Titan, Echo, and Shadow became legends, not just on Earth, but throughout the galaxy. Stories of their bravery spread far and wide, told in classrooms, around campfires, and even in alien gatherings. They were more than animals. They were heroes who had shown that loyalty and teamwork could overcome even the greatest odds. Dr. Ryan Scott continued working with them, teaching others how to train genetically enhanced creatures for peaceful purposes. Together, they proved that strength didn't have to come from domination. It could come from trust. Life slowly returned to normal, or as close to normal as it could be after such monumental events. Titan recovered fully from his injuries, though a faint scar remained on his silver-streaked fur, a reminder of everything he'd endured. He stayed by Alex's side, often accompanying him to school or sitting quietly during his studies. Echo perched on rooftops, watching over neighborhoods like a guardian angel, while Shadow prowled nearby parks, her sleek form blending seamlessly with the shadows. Mia threw herself into her role as an ambassador, traveling between worlds to build bridges and foster understanding. It wasn't always easy. Old prejudices died hard. But she approached every challenge with patience and determination. She often thought about the day she'd stood before the Galactic Council station, unsure if she could save her brother. Now she realized that courage wasn't about knowing you'd win. It was about standing up even when you weren't sure. One evening, months after the Coalition's formation, Maya found herself back at the warehouse where it all began. The place looked different now, cleaner, brighter, but memories lingered in every corner. Titan lay stretched out near the entrance, Echo preened her feathers on a low beam, and Shadow curled up beside Mia as she sat cross-legged on the floor. "It feels strange," Maya said softly, running her fingers through Shadow's soft fur. "Like, I spent so long fighting for this moment. And now it's here." Dr. Scott, who had joined her, smiled gently. "You did good, Mia. Better than anyone could have hoped." She nodded, glancing at the stars visible through the open doorway. Somewhere out there, countless lives had been changed because of what she and her team had done. Humanity wasn't perfect, but it had proven it could rise above its fears and stand shoulder to shoulder with the rest of the galaxy. As the night deepened, Maya leaned back, feeling a rare sense of peace. Beside her, Alex appeared, holding a steaming cup of tea. He handed it to her with a shy smile before sitting down. For a while, no one spoke. The silence was comfortable, filled only by the quiet sounds of breathing and the occasional chirp from Echo. "We're going to be okay," Alex said finally, breaking the stillness. Maya looked at him, her heart swelling with pride. Yeah, she replied, her voice steady. We are. And for the first time in a long time, she truly believed it. Together, humanity and its unlikely allies had stepped confidently into the stars, ready to carve out their place among the cosmos. It hadn't been easy, but sometimes the hardest journeys led to the brightest destinations.